The backyard was alive with laughter. But Emma's heart was a traitor, pounding against her ribs as she stood frozen at the gate. She was late hours latito her best friend Sarah's 30th birthday party. The one event she'd sworn not to miss. The weight of her absence felt like a betrayal, heavier than the humid Virginia night pressing against her skin. Emma clutched the wrapped gift. Its edges creased from her nervous grip. She'd spent weeks perfecting a hand-painted journal for Sarah, each page a testament to their decade-long friendship. But work had chained her to a desk, a last-minute deadline stealing her evening. And now the party was in full swing without her. Fairy lights twinkled above the crowd. Music pulsed. And Sarah's laughter floated somewhere in the chaos. Emma's stomach twisted. How do I even begin to apologize? She took a tentative step forward, scanning the sea of faces for Sarah. Instead, her eyes caught on Claire, Sarah's mother, standing near the drink table, her silhouette softened by the glow of string lights. 42. Claire carried an effortless grace. Her dark hair streaked with silver, pulled loosely over one shoulder. She was pouring wine, her movements deliberate, but her gaze lifted and locked onto Emma's. The world seemed to quiet, the chatter fading to a hum. Claire's lips curved into a small, knowing smile, and Emma's breath hitched. "Emma," Claire called softly, her voice cutting through the noise like a lifeline. She set down the wine bottle and walked over, her cardigan slipping slightly off one shoulder. "You made it." I'm so sorry," Emma stammered, clutching the gift tighter. "Work ran late, and I tried to get here. But..." Claire raised a hand, her touch grazing Emma's arm, warm and steady. "Sarah's having the time of her life. She'll forgive you." Her eyes, a deep hazel, held Emma's with an intensity that felt too intimate for the crowded yard. "But you look like you could use a moment to breathe." Emma nodded, her throat tight. She followed Claire to a quieter corner of the yard, near a wooden fence draped in ivy. The air smelled of jasmine and grilled food, but all Emma could focus on was Claire, her calm, her warmth, the way her presence felt like an anchor in the storm of Emma's guilt. "I messed up," Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sarah's my best friend, and I let her down." Claire tilted her head, studying Emma with a softness that made her chest ache. "You're here now. That counts for something." She paused, then added, "You always put so much pressure on yourself, don't you?" Emma blinked, surprised. She'd known Claire for years, Sarah's cool, artsy mom who always had a book in hand and a story to tell, but this felt different. Claire's words carried a weight, like she'd been watching Emma longer than Emma realized. I don't want to disappoint her," Emma said. Claire stepped closer, her voice dropping. "You're not a disappointment, Emma. Not to Sarah. Not to anyone." Her fingers brushed Emma's wrist, lingering just a moment too long. "Come on. Let's get you a drink, and you can celebrate with me." The words were simple, but they landed like a spark in dry grass. Emma's pulse raced, her mind scrambling to make sense of the heat in Claire's gaze. Celebrate with me. It wasn't an invitation, it was a promise, one that felt dangerous and thrilling all at once. They moved to the drink table, Claire pouring Emma a glass of wine with a steadiness that belied the tension between them. Emma took the glass, her fingers brushing Claire's, and the contact sent a shiver through her. She sipped the wine, hoping it would steady her nerves, but it only amplified the awareness of Claire standing so close. "Tell me about your day," Claire said, leaning against the table, her eyes never leaving Emma's. "What kept you away?" Emma laughed, a nervous sound. "Just work. Endless spreadsheets. A boss who doesn't understand weekend The usual. She hesitated, then added, I hated missing this. Sarah's been planning it for months. Claire nodded, her expression unreadable. Sarah's always been larger than life. But you, she trailed off, her gaze softening. You're the one who holds it all together, aren't you? The reliable one. Emma's cheeks warmed. I don't feel reliable right now. You are, Claire said firmly. More than you know. She reached out, tucking a strand of Emma's chestnut hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle, so unexpected, that Emma froze, her breath catching. Claire's hand lingered near her cheek, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Mom. Sarah's voice cut through the moment, sharp and bright. She bounded over, her blonde hair bouncing, her smile wide but tinged with mock indignation. Emma, you're finally here. I was about to send a search party. Emma's heart lurched, guilt crashing back. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Sarah waved her off, pulling her into a hug. You're here now. That's what matters. Come dance with me. She tugged Emma toward the makeshift dance floor. But not before Emma caught Claire's gaze in a flicker of something unspoken. Something that made Emma's skin prickle. As Sarah dragged her into the crowd, Emma's mind spun. She danced, laughed, tried to lose herself in the moment. But Claire's words echoed in her head. Celebrate with me. She stole a glance at Claire, who was watching from the sidelines. Her expression unreadable but her eyes burning with something Emma couldn't name. The night wore on, and Emma stayed close to Sarah, trying to make up for lost time. They danced, shared stories, and laughed until their sides ached. But every so often, Emma's eyes found Claire watching, always watching. Each glance felt like a thread pulling tighter, connecting them in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. By midnight, the party began to wind down. Guests trickled out, leaving empty cups and scattered streamers. Sarah, tipsy and glowing, hugged Emma tightly. You're the best. You know that. Even if you're late. Emma smiled, her guilt easing slightly. Love you, Sarah. Love you too, Sarah said, then yawned. I'm crashing. Mom's got cleanup duty, but you should stick around. Keep her company. Emma's stomach flipped. Yeah, maybe, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. As Sarah disappeared inside, Emma turned to find Claire already watching her, a broom in hand, sweeping up confetti. The backyard was nearly empty now, the fairy lights casting long shadows. Claire paused, leaning on the broom, her smile soft but charged. Sticking around? Claire asked, her voice low. Emma swallowed, her heart racing. Yeah, she said. I think I will. The air grew cooler as the last guests left, leaving Emma and Claire alone in the backyard. The fairy lights flickered, casting a golden glow over the scattered chairs and empty wine glasses. Emma's pulse hadn't slowed since Claire's invitation. And now, standing just a few feet from her, it felt like the world was holding its breath. Claire set the broom against the fence and dusted her hands, her movements deliberate. You don't have to stay, you know, she said, but her tone suggested otherwise. Her eyes, sharp and searching, pinned Emma in place. I want to, Emma said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. She stepped closer, clutching the empty wine glass like a shield. I owe Sarah, and helping clean up feels like the least I can do. Claire's lips twitched, a half smile that felt like a secret. You don't owe anyone anything, Emma. But I won't say no to the company. She gestured to a pile of paper plates on a nearby table. Grab a trash bag. Let's make this quick. They worked in silence at first, gathering cups and napkins. The only sounds the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of crickets. Emma stole glances at Claire, her mind racing. She'd always admired Claire, her quiet strength, her sharp wit, the way she seemed to see through people without judgment. But tonight, something had shifted. Claire's touches, her words, the way her gaze lingered at it all felt like a language Emma was only beginning to understand. You're quiet, Claire said, breaking the silence as she tied off a trash bag. Something on your mind? Emma hesitated, her hands pausing over a stack of plates. Just thinking about tonight. I feel like I let Sarah down. But being here now, with you, she trailed off, her cheeks burning. It's nice. Claire's expression softened, but there was a flicker of something deeper, something that made Emma's stomach twist. It's more than nice, Claire said, her voice low. She stepped closer, close enough that Emma could smell her perfume, a faint mix of lavender and cedar. You're always so hard on yourself, Emma. Why is that? Emma's breath caught. I don't know, she admitted. I want to be enough. For Sarah. For my job. She stopped, realizing how close she was to saying for you. Claire's eyes darkened, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then Claire reached out, her fingers brushing Emma's cheek, tucking another stray hair behind her ear. The touch was electric, sending a jolt through Emma's body. You are enough, Claire whispered. More than enough. Emma's heart pounded so loudly she was sure Claire could hear it. She wanted to say something, anything, but her voice failed her. Instead, she leaned into Claire's touch, just slightly, and the world seemed to tilt. Mom! Sarah's voice called from the house, shattering the moment. Emma stepped back, her face flushing as Claire's hand dropped. Sarah appeared at the back door, rubbing her eyes. You guys okay out here? Claire recovered first, her smile easy. Just cleaning up, sweetheart. Go back to bed. Sarah yawned, oblivious to the tension. Okay. Night, Emma. Thanks for coming. Night, Emma managed, her voice shaky. Sarah disappeared inside, and Emma turned to Claire, expecting awkwardness. But Claire's gaze was steady, unflinching. We should finish up, Claire said, but her tone held a promise of something more. They resumed cleaning, but the air between them crackled with unspoken words. Emma's mind raced. What am I doing? She's Sarah's mom. This is insane. But every glance from Claire, every brush of their hands as they passed trash bags, felt like a step toward something inevitable. When the backyard was clean, Claire led Emma to a small bench under an oak tree, the fairy lights casting a soft halo around them. They sat, closer than necessary, their knees almost touching. Emma's wine glass was long empty, but she held it anyway, needing something to ground her. Tell me something about you, Claire said, her voice soft but commanding. Something you don't tell Sarah. Emma's breath hitched. She thought of the safe answers, her job, her hobbies, but Claire's gaze demanded honesty. I've always felt like I'm searching for something, she said finally. Like there's a piece of me I haven't found yet. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it keeps me up at night. Claire's eyes softened, and she leaned closer. I know that feeling, she said. I felt it for years. Raising Sarah. Being the perfect wife. The perfect mother. But then I realized, sometimes what you're searching for is right in front of you. Emma's heart stopped. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. She wanted to ask what Claire meant, but the look in her eyes said enough. Claire's hand rested on the bench, inches from Emma's, and the space between them felt like a challenge. I should go, Emma said, but she didn't move. She couldn't. Claire's fingers brushed hers, a deliberate touch this time. You don't have to, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Not yet. Emma's mind screamed warnings. This is wrong. This is complicated. This is Sarah's mom, but her body leaned closer, drawn to Claire like a magnet. Their fingers intertwined, and for a moment, the world was just their hands, their breaths, the quiet night. Then Claire pulled back. Her expression conflicted. We can't, she said, her voice strained. Not like this. Emma's stomach dropped. I know, she said, but the words felt hollow. She stood, her legs shaky, and grabbed her bag. I'll see you around, Claire. Claire nodded, her eyes full of things unsaid. Good night, Emma. Emma drove home in a daze, her mind replaying every moment, every touch. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, her heart torn between guilt and a longing she couldn't name. Claire was Sarah's mother, but she was also something else, something that made Emma feel alive in a way she hadn't in years. The next morning, Emma woke with a headache and a heart full of questions. She stared at her phone. Sarah's text from last night glowing on the screen. Thanks for coming. You're the best. Guilt gnawed at her. But it was Claire's face that haunted her thoughts, the way her eyes had held Emma's, the warmth of her touch. She tried to shake it off, burying herself in work. But by noon, she was restless, her mind circling back to that backyard, that bench, that moment. She texted Sarah, hoping normalcy would anchor her. Coffee today. Need to catch up. Sarah replied instantly, yes. Mom's Cafe. 2 p.m. Emma's stomach flipped. Claire owned a small coffee shop downtown, a cozy spot filled with books and mismatched chairs. Emma had been there countless times with Sarah, but now the thought of seeing Claire there felt like stepping into a minefield. When Emma arrived, the cafe was bustling, the air thick with the scent of espresso and cinnamon. Sarah waved from a corner table, her smile bright. You look like you need caffeine, she teased, pushing a latte toward Emma. Emma forced a laugh, her eyes scanning the room. Claire was behind the counter, her hair pulled back, her apron dusted with flour. She looked up, and their eyes met, a spark passing between them. Claire's smile was polite, professional, but Emma saw the flicker of something more. You okay? Sarah asked, snapping Emma's attention back. You seem off. Just tired, Emma lied, sipping her latte. Work's been brutal. Sarah launched into a story about the party, oblivious to Emma's distraction. Emma nodded along, but her gaze kept drifting to Claire, who was now helping a customer, her movements graceful and sure. Every so often, Claire glanced her way, and each look felt like a secret shared. When Sarah stepped away to take a call, Claire approached, wiping her hands on her apron. Didn't expect to see you so soon, she said, her voice low, teasing. Emma's heart raced. Sarah dragged me here, she said, trying to keep her tone light. Your coffee's too good to resist. Claire raised an eyebrow, leaning against the table. Is that all you're here for? Her words were playful, but her eyes were serious, searching. Emma swallowed, her mouth dry. Claire. About last night. Not here. Claire cut in, her voice soft but firm. She glanced around, then leaned closer. "Meet me out back in 10 minutes. Emma nodded, her pulse hammering. She barely registered Sarah's return, her mind fixed on Claire's words. When Sarah suggested they grab pastries, Emma mumbled an excuse about needing air and slipped out to the alley behind the cafe. Claire was waiting, leaning against the brick wall, her expression unreadable. "I shouldn't have let things go that far last night," she said, her voice steady but laced with regret. "You're Sarah's best friend. This is complicated." Emma's chest tightened. "I know," she said, "but I can't stop thinking about you." Claire's eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked vulnerable, exposed. "Emma, you have no idea what you're saying," she said, but her voice wavered. "I'm too old for you. I'm Sarah's mother. This could ruin everything." "Then why does it feel so right?" Emma asked, stepping closer. Her voice shook, but she didn't care. "I've never felt like this before, Claire. Not with anyone." Claire's breath hitched, and she reached out, her fingers grazing Emma's arm. "You're making this so hard," she whispered. But she didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, her hand sliding to Emma's wrist, her thumb brushing over her pulse point. They stood there, inches apart, the alley quiet except for the distant hum of the cafe. Emma's heart pounded, her body screaming to close the distance. But Claire's eyes held a storm of conflict. "We can't," Claire said again, but her grip on Emma's wrist tightened. "Then let me go," Emma said, her voice barely audible. Claire's eyes darkened, and for a moment, Emma thought she might. But then Claire leaned in, her lips brushing Emma's in a kiss so soft, so tentative, felt like a question. Emma answered, kissing her back, her hands finding Claire's waist. The world melted away, leaving only the heat of their lips, the press of their bodies. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard, their foreheads touching. "This is a mistake," Claire whispered, but her hand stayed on Emma's shoulders. "Then let's make it," Emma said, her voice fierce. Claire laughed, a broken, beautiful sound. "Your trouble," she said, but she didn't let go. They parted with a promise to talk later. Away from the cafe, away from Sarah. Emma returned to the table, her heart racing, her face flushed. Sarah noticed, raising an eyebrow. "You okay? You look like you just ran a marathon." Emma forced a smile. "Just needed some air," she said. But her mind was still in that alley, with Claire's lips on hers. The days that followed were a blur of stolen moments and sleepless nights. Emma and Claire texted in secret, their messages careful but charged, each word a step deeper into forbidden territory. They met once at a park, sitting on a bench under a willow tree, their hands brushing but never quite holding. Every touch, every glance, was a risk, but Emma couldn't stop. Claire was aflame, and Emma was drawn to her, reckless and unafraid. Sarah, oblivious, kept Emma close, inviting her to dinners, movie nights, the usual rhythm of their friendship. Each time, Emma's heart raced at the sight of Claire serving wine, laughing at Sarah's jokes, her eyes finding Emma's across the room. The guilt was a constant weight, but the pull of Claire was stronger, a current Emma couldn't fight. One evening, Claire asked Emma to meet her at the cafe after hours. Emma arrived to find the lights dimmed, the air warm with the scent of fresh-baked bread. Claire was waiting, her apron gone, her hair loose. She locked the door behind Emma, the click loud in the quiet. "We need to talk," Claire said, her voice steady but her eyes nervous. She led Emma to a small table. 2 cups of tea waiting. Whatever this is, it's moving too fast. Emma's heart sank. Are you saying you want to stop? Claire's gaze softened. No, she said. But we have to be careful. Sarah can't know. Not yet. Emma nodded, her throat tight. I don't want to hurt her, she said. But I don't want to lose this either. Claire reached across the table, her hand covering Emma's. Neither do I, she said. But we're playing with fire. They talked for hours, sharing stories they'd never told anyone. Claire's dreams of being an artist, abandoned for motherhood, Emma's fear of never finding her place in the world. The more they shared, the closer they grew, their hands intertwined, their voices soft in the dim light. When Claire kissed her again, it was different, deeper, more certain. Emma melted into it, her hands in Claire's hair, her heart racing. They pulled apart, breathless, and Claire laughed softly. You're going to ruin me, she said. Emma grinned, her fear giving way to something bolder. Good. But the high didn't last. The next day, Sarah called Emma, her voice tight. Can we talk? In person? Emma's stomach dropped. She met Sarah at a diner. Her nerves fraying. Sarah looked serious. Her usual spark dimmed. You've been weird lately, Sarah said, stirring her coffee. Distant. Is something going on? Emma's heart raced, her mind scrambling for a lie. Just work, she said, hating herself for it. It's been stressful. Sarah studied her, unconvinced. You'd tell me if it was something else, right? Of course, Emma said, her voice hollow. She changed the subject, but the guilt was suffocating. She loved Sarah, but she was falling for Claire, and the two truths were tearing her apart. That night, Emma texted Claire, her fingers shaking. We need to figure this out. I can't keep lying to her. Claire's reply was instant. I know. Meet me tomorrow. My place. Sarah's out of town. Emma's heart raced, a mix of fear and anticipation. She knew they were crossing a line, one they couldn't uncross. But as she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, all she could think of was Claire, her touch, her voice, the way she made Emma feel seen. Claire's house was quiet when Emma arrived, the absence of Sarah's usual chaos making the space feel intimate, almost sacred. Claire opened the door, her expression a mix of nerves and warmth. Come in, she said, stepping aside. They sat on the couch, a bottle of wine between them, but neither reached for it. The air was thick with unspoken questions, and Emma broke the silence first. What are we doing, Claire? Claire sighed, running a hand through her hair. I don't know, she admitted. I've spent my life doing what's expected, being a wife, a mother, a business owner. But with you, I feel like I'm waking up. Emma's heart ached at the vulnerability in Claire's voice. I feel the same, she said. But Sarah, she's my best friend. If she finds out. I know. Claire cut in, her eyes pained. I've raised her to be open-minded. But this is personal. Sus. They sat in silence, the weight of their choices pressing down. Then Claire reached for Emma's hand, her touch grounding. I don't want to hide forever, she said. But I need time to figure out how to tell her. Emma nodded, her throat tight. I'll wait, she said. For you. The night unfolded slowly, their conversation deepening, their touches growing bolder. When Claire kissed her, It was like a dam breaking, all their restraint giving way to need. They moved to Claire's bedroom, the world narrowing to just them, their bodies, their whispered promises. But the next morning, reality crashed back. Sarah returned early, her car pulling into the driveway as Emma scrambled to leave. Claire's face was pale, her hands shaking as she kissed Emma goodbye. "We'll figure this out," she whispered. Emma nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. She drove home, her mind a mess of love and fear. She wanted Claire, but she couldn't lose Sarah. The thought of hurting her best friend was unbearable, but so was the thought of letting Claire go. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk. Emma and Claire stole moments when they could, late nights at the cafe, quiet walks in the park, but every moment was shadowed by the fear of discovery. Emma's lies to Sarah grew heavier, each one a brick in the wall between them. One evening, Sarah invited Emma to a movie night. Just the two of them. Emma agreed, hoping to repair their bond. But Claire was there, too, her presence a constant pull. When Sarah fell asleep on the couch, Claire's hand found Emma's under a blanket, their fingers intertwining. It was reckless, but Emma couldn't pull away. "I love you," Claire whispered, so quietly Emma almost missed it. Emma's heart stopped. She wanted to say it back, but fear held her tongue. Instead, she squeezed Claire's hand, her eyes saying what her voice couldn't. The next day, disaster struck. Sarah found a text on Emma's phone, a careless message from Claire, too intimate to explain away. Sarah confronted Emma, her voice shaking with betrayal. "My mom. Emma, how could you?" Emma's heart broke, her apologies tumbling out. But Sarah wasn't listening. She stormed out, leaving Emma in tears. When Claire called, Emma could barely speak. "She knows," she said. "She hates me." Claire came over, her own eyes red from crying. They held each other, their love a fragile thing in the face of Sarah's pain. "We'll fix this," Claire said, but her voice lacked conviction. Emma wanted to believe her, but the guilt was crushing. She'd lost her best friend, and the love she'd found with Claire felt tainted by the cost. Months passed, and the rift with Sarah didn't heal. Emma and Claire tried to move forward, their love deepening despite the pain. They were careful, meeting in secret, but every moment was bittersweet, haunted by Sarah's absence. One day, Emma found a letter in her mailbox, Sarah's handwriting on the envelope. Her hand shook as she opened it. Inside, Sarah's words were raw, honest, torn between hurt and love. "I'm not ready to forgive you," she wrote, "but I miss you. I miss us. I need time, but I don't want to lose you forever." Emma cried, relief and hope mingling with her guilt. She showed the letter to Claire, who held her tightly. "She'll come around," Claire said. "She's strong, like you." They decided to give Sarah space, focusing on their own bond. Claire started painting again, her canvases vibrant with emotion, and Emma found herself writing, pouring her heart into stories she'd never dared to tell. Their love became a quiet rebellion, a testament to the courage it took to choose each other. One evening, as they sat in Claire's backyard, the same place where it all began, Emma took Claire's hand. "I love you," she said, the words finally free. Claire smiled, her eyes shining. "I love you too." They didn't know if Sarah would ever fully accept them, but they knew they'd face it together. Their love was a risk, a leap, a choice, and it was worth it. Under the starlit sky, they celebrated not just each other, but the messy, beautiful truth of who they were.